No, exactly.
Oh, wait, now I remember. Okay.
Good evening. The February 26th meeting of the Middletown Borough Council will now come to order. Will the clerk please read the open public meetings statement?
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided as required under Chapter 231 Public Law 1975, specifying the time, date, location, and to the extent known, the agenda by posting a copy of the notice on the municipal building, municipal website, providing a copy to the official newspaper of the borough, and by filing a copy in the office of the borough clerk in accordance with a certification by the clerk, which will be entered into the minutes.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Council President Revelinsky.
Here.
Councilman Collins.
Here.
Councilman Manco.
Here.
Councilman Poznanski.
Here.
Councilman Potter.
Here.
Councilman Zambrana.
Here.
Mayor Murray.
Here.
Borough Attorney Peter Vignolo.
Present.
Borough Engineer Mike McClellan.
Present.
Borough Administrator Fred Carr.
Here.
Deputy Borough Clerk Mary Guiney. Present. And Borough Clerk Monica Orlando present.
Please join me in a moment of silence, following by the salute of the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we're going to do announcements in Middletown Little League presentation, or
I don't need that. Mr. Mayor and council members, thank you for allowing myself and the Middletown Little League Board of Directors the time to share our presentation with you all. My name is Bobby Samuel. I'm the president of Middletown Little League. The Middletown Little League Board of Directors and I wish to continue to build off many improvements that you allowed us to make last year to both the Little League facility and Gloria Bradford Park. Through our fundraising efforts, we were able to purchase additional equipment and supplies specifically designed to work on and maintain the baseball fields, the softball fields, and the grounds around the fields. This greatly improved the experience for the children and parents of our town, not only during Little League season, but also during the 4th of July celebration, the Winter Wonderland event, and Milltown Day. With that said, the storage capabilities of our equipment is limited. If you refer to the diagram that's been given, we have 3 batting cages behind the existing blue shed. With your approval, we would like to eliminate the first batting cage closest to the firehouse and slide the large blue shed straight back, and it would sit where that batting cage is now. Through our fundraising efforts, and again, with your approval, we would like to purchase another shed to put in place of the blue shed where it currently sits today. This shed will be newer and in better condition than the blue shed, which is why we want to push the blue shed back out of sight. The new shed will be used to neatly store the additional equipment we have acquired, and it will also be used to store the materials that are left outside in the elements between the blue shed and the pole barn. This will allow the borough to take over that space and to use it for whatever you guys see fit. So essentially we will be occupying space that we have already designated for us. We are simply just changing the layout. The goal is to safely store our equipment while providing a neat, clean look to that area of the park. Another goal of the Board of Directors is to provide much-needed new fencing around the dugouts on Major Field and also Field 2. Upon your approval and at no additional expense to the borough, we will provide vendor information and a license number. Again, this request is only for new fencing for the 2 dugouts and will be purchased through our fundraising efforts. We hope to raise those funds for the much-needed fence dugouts improvements this year. And the last goal of the Middletown Little League Board of Directors is to install Wi-Fi at the Little League complex. Again, at no cost to the borough, this tool will allow us to have internet during our board meetings, live stream games for friends and family that cannot be present, and assist in our daily operations with the cash register and the snack shack. So to conclude, the requested changes are eliminating the batting cage closest to the woods, slide the blue shed towards the woods, purchase new shed, install new fencing around the dugouts on Major Field and Field 2, and install Wi-Fi. Thank you all again for your time and careful consideration. Please feel free to ask any follow-up questions or send them to me at another time, but I could field any questions you guys may have now. Okay?
I have just two quick questions. So you said that the shed that you're going to purchase is going to contain additional equipment?
Equipment that we already have.
That you already have?
Yeah.
What kind of equipment is that?
The quad and the golf cart that we have to maintain the fields, drag the fields, move equipment, bags of...
You don't have any pitching machines, right?
We have a pitching machine, but that's kind of tiny.
Okay.
That doesn't take up too much space.
Okay.
It's more about the liner that we have. We get pallets of liner and conditioner and speedy dry,
Okay. Thank you.
all stuff like that.
Bob, I have a question. How big is the shed, the new shed that you're looking to get?
The one we're looking to get is 14 by 25.
Thank you.
Yeah, the current one we have, I believe, is 32 by 12.
Bobby, quick question. Have you run any of this by Ralph Jankowski yet, or this is your first step, coming here, getting the approval, and then going to talk to Ralph?
We've discussed it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Because I'd like to make sure he's on board with any changes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I know you would do that anyway. And like I said, just to confirm, this is all on the Little League, the borough, right? Even with the Wi-Fi, when you get the Wi-Fi, is there monthly charges with the Wi-Fi that the Little
Yeah,
League
we would cover any costs. It wouldn't be...
be under your account?
Yep.
So, okay.
With that, Councilman Potter, I know the original requests for security cameras over there required Wi-Fi
Yeah.
as well, so
Yeah.
that might be something. I had looked into this about a month ago. I asked the Recreation Department what the bills looked like for the pool and stuff, so
Yep.
if we could help them out a little bit with that, because we might need it anyway, that might also be an option. But
Yeah, just get one that can cover, you know, the bandwidth and stuff, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it would greatly improve our day-to-day operations and monthly meetings and all that.
Great.
Bobby, would there be maintenance required from the township, like with Ralph Jasnowski?
In regards to what?
In regards to what you have going on there, will there be things that you need done by him?
With these improvements?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
We would hire a company to deliver the shed and place it, and the Wi-Fi, I'm sure it would be Verizon or whoever would supply that, and then the fencing, we would hire outside vendors to install the fencing.
First, I want to say, I applaud what you're doing. I was also on the board for about 10 years, so I appreciate what you guys are doing coming here.
Same,
Thank you.
same here.
I was not on the board, but I appreciate it nonetheless. What you guys did last year with your efforts, I think really made a tremendous impact on our ability to even hold other events through town. So I'm all for giving you guys permission. And I know right now you're forced to store some things outside, which are slightly unsightly because of the fact that they're outside. So I think having the additional storage cleans everything up and puts a nice facelift on there. So.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely.
And you're not using that third batting cage, that's why you guys are getting rid of it? It's just
Yeah, well,
like-
as you know, we put in the new batting cage last spring
Okay.
behind Field 2.
Yep.
So we have 4 cages, and if we could utilize the space in a more efficient manner, we could still have 3 batting cages.
Yeah, makes sense. What would be the next step that they need to do?
Do we, I was just gonna say, do we need a voice?
No, you did a resolution last year, so it'll be a resolution to outline all the terms and conditions. We can put that on for next meeting if you guys want it.
I make a motion that resolution be put forward?
Absolutely. Second.
Just do it all in favor?
I just wanted to see.
Aye. Perfect.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion by
So
Councilman
once
Potter.
that's passed on the
By
11th meeting, I'll send you
Council
certified
President
copies so you have it.
Aye.
Yep, we got it, John.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
That's it. All right, I'd also like to take this time to officially invite you guys to our opening day ceremony to be on the field. It's April 13th, time to be determined. But we'd love to have everyone out on the field for our ceremony. And appreciate your time.
Thank you for the invite. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bill.
All right, open to the public. Now is the time for public comments limited to the resolutions listed on the agenda. If you wish to speak, please step up to the microphone, say your name and address for the record.
Nick Legati, 9 Janet Court. My apologies for being late, and I'm sorry if I'm not in the right section or time, but is this to bring up anything in the consent resolutions? Is that where we are?
Yes.
Resolution 2024-86. As I don't have detailed, but could somebody explain that one to me and what the plan is or what we're doing with that?
We've had interviews already with potential candidates for CFO, but since Ms. Biancamano had left previously, it leaves us for this time frame without an official CFO, so this is more of a, I believe it was acting CFO, correct? Not temporary? Fred?
Per the statute, it's temporary, but yeah.
But yeah.
Which
allows us 1 year until we have someone else, another CFO to fill in.
And did I read it correctly online that it's Mr. Carr?
That's correct.
How does that affect his current position? Is he still, if I'm allowed to speak, is it part-time? Is it full-time now? Is it the same hours, just 2 jobs within the same hours? I'm curious on that.
It's just the same. It's my understanding that it just allows him to sign as the CFO for this interim period.
So he's going to be doing his current job, he's adding on the CFO position for a year, but he's keeping the same hours. I'm assuming there's a bump in pay for this as well.
No, there's no.
No, it's not for,
If I may, Council
Yeah,
President.
it's
if I
not
may.
for a full year. It's until we fill the position of CFO that we're looking to accommodate right now. So Fred is just signing. We have Shipley Clooney, who's our vendor, who is doing that. Mr. Carr is signing the official paperwork as a temporary.
That is correct, sir. The state the statute allows you to appoint a temporary CFO without a state statute, without a state certification for 1 year, with a 1-year follow-on, which we should have a CFO by then. As Council President, they are doing interviews as we speak, but we are required by state law to have a CFO to sign documents. And as the mayor mentioned, we have Shipley Clooney assisting, and I don't sign, and I will not sign anything as the CFO until I have something from the auditor saying, yes, you can sign that. I hit my head, sir, but I'm not crazy.
You're a very good man. Thank you very much from Milltown. I appreciate that. That was my only question. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Seeing no comments, this portion of the meeting is closed to the public. Will the clerk please Resolution 2024-81 enter an executive session?
Whereas the Open Public Meetings Act, Public Law 1975, Chapter 231 permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances, and whereas this public body is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, and whereas the governing body wishes to discuss personnel matters and real estate acquisition, and whereas minutes will be kept, and once the matter involving the confidentiality of the above no longer requires that confidentiality, then the minutes can be made public. Now therefore be it resolved by the Borough Council of the Borough of Milltown, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, that the public be excluded from this meeting.
So just to clarify, we will not be taking action upon return on the matters discussed in executive session, correct?
I don't know.
I just wanted to make sure I'm reading the right statement.
That's, to the best of my knowledge, no one's taking action when you come out of executive session.
Can I have a motion to enter executive session?
So moved.
Second. There's an actual form.
Yeah, it's just an appetite.
Closer in front of Phil is what it is.
Phil was okay with that.
Phil put it there. Phil put it there.
Oh, absolutely.
Who else? Rich, right?
Nobody's done anything yet.
No, I understand, no, but
Well, no, we don't do that.
Yeah, he just did that.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, we're
the going rate, so.
We're now back in open session at 8:26. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Council President Revelinsky.
Here.
Councilman Collins.
Here.
Councilman Manco.
Here.
Councilman Poznanski. Councilman Potter.
Here.
Councilman Zambrana.
Here.
Mayor Murray.
Here. The following minutes on the agenda for acceptance: February 12, 2024, executive session; February 12, 2024, regular meeting. Are there any comments or corrections? Can I have a motion to accept the minutes as typed?
I move that the minutes be approved as typed.
Second.
I'm going to say the delay was on Collins, and he gets them.
A motion made by Council President Revelinsky, seconded by Councilman Potter. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay. Will the clerk please read ordinance 24-1531 by title only?
Ordinance amending Chapter 23, Streets and Sidewalks, Section 23-5.3D, establishing a fine for violation of the section.
Does the council have any questions or comments?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, so my question is, we all know this ordinance is in place, but the only updates to the ordinance is getting rid of the mandatory court date and also establishing a fee.
Well, it's essentially, Councilman Potter, it's to establish a fee and create a fee that's certain. So the problem, I believe, with the current ordinance is it didn't have a penalty section, and in the absence of a penalty section, there's no way for someone to pay a fine because you don't know what the fine is.
Right.
So
And they
this
had to go to-
establishes
and-
that
and they had
fine.
to go to court.
If it's going to be paid in advance.
Right. So-
Well, the only person who can set the fine if there is no fine is the judge, if you're found guilty of it.
Well, exactly, so
So-
people are getting tickets and there's no fine, and the only way to find out what they owe is they have to go to court.
Exactly.
So by doing this, we're putting in
Where
that
we-
fee
we were-
structure,
we are
and then, which eliminates the...
Creating the ability to pay and not go to court.
Okay, thank you.
I have one quick question.
Okay?
When was this original ordinance drafted or adopted? Did you happen to know that?
Would I know when the...
I just find it curious that something has been on the books for this long and we never, it's never been addressed before. I was just curious.
From what I understand, it's been in existence since the police department was started. It was revised in 2015 because there was some changes that needed to be made. So that's from what I understand from the chief.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay, I was just curious.
So one thing I would like to also mention is, because I discussed it with Judge Heitman this afternoon, and by the approval of this, it's also going to be retroactive as far as these new round of tickets. So that's why they pushed the court appearances out, so all this could be done. We could get this hopefully approved and done, and then the residents could actually pay the fines versus coming in for a court date. So that's what the judge and the chief had come up with to try to make it a little bit more convenient. Okay. Any more questions?
When the full policy is enacted,
Microphone.
when the full policy is enacted, where will it be present, where we can, there's a lot of people asking questions, and I know, it would be nice to give them, here's a link. This is exactly what you're expecting, what to expect from now on. And I did notice, throughout COVID, a lot of new bodies in town bought houses, and we didn't have snow for 2 years, or nothing. So I think there's a lot of surprises this time for some people. And if we can, wherever it ends up on the borough site, if it's noticeable, if it's promoted a little bit, I do think our site, there's so many places to get information from. People get lazy and don't go looking through our website.
Councilman Manco, if I may, I actually went on the borough website, and that site just typed in the snow ordinance, and that's how I discovered 2015.
I mean, I'm familiar with it, and I know what you're saying, and I'm just saying, as much as the amount of questions that people ask in town instead of just Googling it, which would, I mean, it's just funny. If they were on a desert island with a phone, they'd find out anything in the world. If they can't go do anything without asking a neighbor, or, yeah, just a thought.
If I may, I think a great way to find out about ordinances that are passed would be to come to a council meeting and pay attention to the council meetings. Thank you.
Roll call is required.
Motion and
I move that ordinance number 24-1531 be adopted on first reading, published according to law, and that the public hearing be held at the next regularly scheduled council meeting on Monday,
March
March
11th.
11th at 7 p.m. in council chambers in Borough Hall.
Second.
I have a motion by Council President Revelinsky, seconded by Councilman Potter. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Council President Revelinsky.
Aye.
Councilman Collins.
Aye.
Councilman Manco.
Aye.
Councilman Poznanski.
Aye.
Councilman Potter.
Aye.
Councilman Zambrana.
Aye.
Will the clerk please read ordinance 24-1532 by title only?
Ordinance amending Chapter 7, Traffic, Section 7-15, parking prohibited during certain hours on certain streets to impose parking restrictions on the west side of JF Kennedy Boulevard, Drive, between Violet Terrace and Nicholas Court.
Will the council make a motion?
Actually, we have questions first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have questions?
I do on this one.
Go ahead.
Peter?
Yes, sir.
With this, I read it, and everything looks good, but we need to add school days. Because you just said Monday, it's just Monday through Friday, but that could also be on the summertime too, and we're really putting this ordinance in place for pickup and drop-offs,
I
correct?
can do that if you would like me to.
Well, keep it Monday through Friday, but just put in parentheses, school days, so we know when it'll be in effect.
Is that
I'm going to need to take a look and see how we're going to handle that, and
Yeah, I thought Councilman Potter looked at my notes here, because I have school days, question mark. I'm wondering, is that easily enforceable, considering if a resident's parking there and they're unaware if there's school that day or not? Does that open the door for more issues, or?
well, it's really your call on how you want it to be handled, but, I mean,
But then you're gonna have it in the summertime. That's why we're putting it there, because there's issues with people, parking there during drop-off and pickup, so.
We can amend, correct me if I'm wrong, we can amend the resolution at the
Ordinance.
second reading, or I'm sorry, the ordinance at the
you can
second
amend it
reading.
as long as it's not a substantive amendment. So the question's going to be whether it is or it isn't. If you'd like to change it now on first reading to be, honestly, I just need to go back and look at, your ability to do that. It's just going to be a little difficult, again, from enforcement, so.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was going to say, maybe we should get the chief's feedback on that amendment.
You guys just
for
want to
school
table
days
the
or not.
ordinance until next meeting? I
That's
mean,
my
I don't know
only
that this was when you talked about last meeting. We can carry it to next meeting and we'll clean up the questions you guys have.
And then my second comment here was, since we're doing it with the snow ordinance here, making it a range of 50 to 500, so that folks don't need to come down and go to court in order to process a violation, can we do the same on this? I know we spoke of it.
You guys can do
today.
whatever you would like to do, but the question is, it's a different kind of animal because I think your snow ordinance is something that exists. You don't have signage like a lot of places have for snow routes, so like the no parking when road is snow-covered signs. If you have site-specific signage that says you can't park here between these hours, you may want them to have to go to court to explain what happened. So, but it's just your call. I mean, I can do whatever you want, but I'm just giving you the flip side of it, because otherwise, if the fine isn't substantial enough and people can do it until they get caught, you may not have the same you know, your officers may have the ability to enforce it during those hours on a regular basis, so, you know, you may not get the same reaction you want.
So would you recommend that we table this
Why don't we table it?
ordinance until we get those answers?
Yeah, I mean, again, if you guys have substantive issues regarding ordinances that are drafted, better to have it all hammered out before we try to take action on it.
Could I ask one question?
Sure.
Did anyone have a conversation with the residents along that route? Because what they think, how that might affect them?
Did it need to be, I know there's 7 houses.
I will say that I drive that route every day, and after school hours, the residents are not parked on that particular side of the street. And so really, it just seems to be the folks who are doing drop-off and pickup that are blocking both sides. So I think the concept here was we obviously introduce the ordinance and then send out a notification to the residents on that block saying, hey, come give your opinion here. In fact, I think maybe perhaps that we're tabling it now. If that is the motion made, I think that's a good idea. So,
Could I add something?
Go ahead, John.
There's East Brunswick has a sign, of that hours that says during school hours, and you could put that on the sign.
Well, that's what we're talking.
No, but you're trying to make it only during those specific hours during periods when school is in session.
That's
correct?
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're not looking to prohibit parking there during school hours on
No.
school days?
Right. Correct. Those hours during school,
During school hours.
And I've seen it, because I've seen no turn on red during school days, so.
Correct.
So I've seen it on signs, so.
Correct.
Better than the nebulous when children are present, because that's always confusing.
It's true.
when they're in your car.
Will council make a motion to table?
I'll make a motion to table.
And I'll second.
I have a motion by Council President Revelinsky and seconded by Councilman Potter. May I have a roll?
Council President Revelinsky.
Aye.
Councilman Collins.
Aye.
Councilman Manco.
Aye.
Councilman Poznanski.
Aye.
Councilman Potter.
Aye.
Councilman Zambrana.
Aye.
All right. Following ordinance was introduced on February 12th, 2024, and advertised in accordance with law. If any member of the public wishes to comment on this ordinance, they may do so after the reading. Will the clerk please read ordinance 24-1530 by title?
Ordinance to fix and amend salaries and wages for various Milltown Borough employees and providing the manner of payment thereof.
I will now open the public hearing on ordinance 24-1530. Okay, public portion hearing is now closed. Will the clerk please call the roll?
I need a motion and a second.
Well, I actually had, you had just mentioned, Counselor, that substantive amendments. I'm looking here at the senior account clerk role, which is on the first page of the ordinance. And I bring this one up because, as you know, we have some likelihood of filling a position with this, and from the feedback we're getting, that the salary range might not be appropriate with people with substantial experience. Currently, it goes from 36 to 55,000 at the top range, and I was wondering if council would be interested in accepting an amendment to this to be up to 65,000 for this particular position.
That's still within the steps of the union contract, though.
I'm sorry?
That's still a union position, so you can do the range, but when you hire somebody, it'll still be within the steps.
Okay. It's on the first page under Administration, Finance, and Planning, full-time position, right down under Secretary, you have Senior Account Clerk.
Is this a substantive change, Peter?
Well, it's a salary ordinance that has numerous salaries over the course of the board. I don't know that this one would rise to the level of making it, significant enough to require it to be started over again. but I understand the question. Bless you.
Is there anybody else have thoughts on that? We good with bringing that up? Seeing none, I'll make a motion that ordinance 24-1530 be adopted on second and final reading and be published according to law.
Why don't we get a vote on the amendment first? If we're going to amend the ordinance before we adopt it, let's vote on the amendment, and then we'll vote on. So the amendment would be from Council President Revelinsky to make the maximum salary range of senior accountant clerk go from $55,000 be increased to $65,000. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So we would need a motion and a second to amend the ordinance.
Okay.
Motion was from Rich or not?
Yeah, well, then a second.
So we need a second.
Yeah.
We need a second.
Second. Oh,
Second.
I can't
You
second.
can't second.
You can't second it, you moved.
Second.
Motion made by Council President Revelinsky, seconded by Councilman Collins. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Council President Revelinsky.
Aye.
Councilman Collins.
Aye.
Councilman Manco.
Aye.
Councilman Poznanski.
Aye.
Councilman Potter.
Aye.
Councilman Zambrana.
No.
All right, let's do this. Let's reopen to the public. Because while I don't think that necessarily any member of the public was sitting out there wondering about senior account clerk, I think the better practice would be making sure.
Okay, I will now open a public hearing on ordinance 24-1530. Is there any? Okay.
Okay.
Public portion of this is now closed. Okay, we have to recall the roll now.
We need a motion and a second.
I make a motion that ordinance 24-1530 be adopted on second and final reading and be published according to law,
As amended.
as amended.
We need a second.
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 Okay. Motion made by Council President Revelinsky, seconded by Councilman Poznanski. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Council President Revelinsky.
Aye.
Councilman Collins.
Aye.
Councilman Manco.
Aye.
Councilman Poznanski.
Aye.
Councilman Potter.
Aye.
Councilman Zambrana.
No.
Will the clerk please read the resolution for payment of obligations?
Authorizing the payment of bills, claims, and statements against the Borough of Milltown in the total amount of $405,585.59.
You have heard the reading of this resolution. What is your pleasure?
So may I make a motion that this resolution be adopted?
Second.
Councilman Potter made the motion, seconded by Council President Revelinsky. Is there any questions, comments? No? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Council President Revelinsky.
Aye.
Councilman Collins.
Aye.
Councilman Manco.
Aye.
Councilman Poznanski.
Aye.
Councilman Potter.
Aye.
Councilman Zambrana.
Aye.
All right, consent agenda. The consent resolution has been prepared for resolutions listed on the agenda. All matters under the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature and having been reviewed by the Borough Council will be enacted in one motion. Any items may be removed from the consent agenda and
Like people can drop off.
Yes, Madam Mayor.
and request of any council member, if so removed, then will be treated as a separate matter. Any items requiring expenditure or support by a certification of funds, if any member of the council wants any resolution acted upon individually, please give me the resolution number and it will be pulled from the consent resolution.
Yes, Madam Mayor. I'd like to pull 2024-84.
Which one? I didn't hear.
84.
84? Okay.
And Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull 2024-86 and 2024-89.
Okay. Will the clerk please read the consent resolution and exclude 84, 86, 89, please?
Whereas pursuant to the rules of council, the council may establish a consent agenda for any regular or special meetings upon certain conditions, and whereas the following resolutions to be presented before the Borough Council at its February 26, 2024 meeting appear to have the unanimous approval of all members of the Borough Council. 2024-85, 2024-87, 2024-88. Now therefore be it resolved by the Borough Council of the Borough of Milltown that each of the above listed resolutions be approved and adopted by the Borough Council with the same legal effect as though each were read in its entirety at the February 26, 2024 regular meeting and adopted by separate vote.
You've heard the reading of this consent resolution. What is your pleasure?
I move that this resolution be adopted.
Second.
Council President Revelinsky made the motion, seconded by Councilman Potter. Is there any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Council President Revelinsky.
Aye.
Councilman Collins.
Aye.
Councilman Manco.
Aye.
Councilman Poznanski.
Aye.
Councilman Potter.
Aye.
Councilman Zambrano.
Aye.
Will the clerk please read Resolution 24-084 by title?
2024-84, authorizing submission of the Middlesex County Recycling Enhancement Grant.
What is your pleasure?
Move that this,
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we postpone this motion, that we put it and get some feedback from the Board of Health before we approve this motion. I'd like to make a motion we suspend this till next meeting.
Can I ask a question on this one?
You can't ask a question until we...
Well, you have a motion on the floor to table this, so you need to see if you have a second.
is there a due date on this?
Yeah, March 11th.
Council meeting in 2 weeks.
And it's before the council meeting, it's
We're
due
not
by
gonna-
4:15.
We're not going to make it.
John, did you hear that?
No.
This grant application is actually due the night of our next council meeting. However, it's due by 5 PM or 4 PM, whereas our council meeting is at 7. So if we table it, we miss out.
Okay, so then I can vote no on it then.
Okay, I'd like to hear a motion of no for the tabling of the...
Well, no, you had a motion to table it, you had a motion, you had no second, so that motion dies. So in the end, now you need someone to make another motion with respect to what to do with Resolution 2024-84.
I move that this resolution be adopted as type.
Second.
Motion made by Council President Revelinsky, seconded by Councilman Poznanski. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I think this will put an undue burden on the residents, because anytime that there's food left outside, it creates a vermin problem, and we've typically had that in the past, and I can't see that passing this resolution and putting the burden of extermination on the residents is going to benefit the town.
Okay, any other questions, comments, concerns?
I have a question.
I have a question.
The wording of it, recycling drop-off center and/or providing funding for a pilot food waste. I'm not crazy about a pilot food waste program, but general recycling, the funds can be, you can get the funds and decide then how we disperse them. Is that the wording? Am I correct in that?
The intent of this grant is that we are working towards having a facility or location that in the off weeks, since we only have recycling pickup every 2 weeks, that would provide a location where residents might be able to drop off. And to facilitate that, there's 10,000 in here. If you go back years and years ago, the original recycling location was back in the old DPW yard. They used to have 3 different containers, and you would throw your colored glass in one, your green, your brown, and your clear glass, and then you'd have to bundle your recycling at the curb. We've advanced since then, but right now with our program, the way we do recycling is that the county provides all the recycling for us, and it's only once every 2 weeks. So this would enable us to have a dumpster or bin possibly at the new DPW facility where residents would be able to drop off in between those weeks.
So the grant itself does not mandate that we have to have a pilot food waste program?
No, it's and/or. It's
Okay.
It's so the
So the
if I may,
option-
so, and for Councilman Collins, it's and/or. We're talking about your regular old everyday recycling, not the food waste for our application.
You had a question? No? Okay. So, we had a motion.
We have a motion and a second. You've had your discussion. You want to ask
Can we take
Ms.
roll
Orlando to
call?
call the roll?
Council President Revelinsky.
Aye.
Councilman Collins.
No.
Councilman Menko.
Aye.
Councilman Poznanski.
Aye.
Councilman Potter.
Aye.
Councilman Zambrana.
Aye.
Will the clerk please read Resolution 24-086 by title?
2024-86, appointing temporary chief financial officer.
What is the pleasure of council?
I make a motion that this resolution be adopted.
Second?
Council President Revelinsky made the motion. Councilman Poznanski seconded. Is there any comments?
Yes, I just have one comment. So I have the utmost confidence in Fred Carr. But is Fred Carr going to be putting together the budget for the borough of Milltown?
No.
So, we're still on the lookout for a CFO,
Yes, sir.
and by my count, this is our third CFO before the end of February of this year.
That's correct.
Do we have any idea when that CFO may be found, appointed, so forth, so on?
We interviewed someone last week. That person is currently employed with another municipality, and we are trying to work out the details of bringing them on, if that is the selected candidate.
That person already has a full-time job?
That's correct.
So if they already have a full-time job, how are they gonna
With
get
a
a
shared
part-time
ser-
CFO?
With a shared service agreement, you would be enabled to perform duties on behalf of the borough of Milltown during your normal work hours, but you have to have a shared service agreement with that specific other municipality.
And that municipality's fine with that?
Discussions have begun.
Okay, but not
Not finalized yet, which is why we don't have a resolution appointing that person this evening.
Okay. If Fred is a temporary CFO, does Fred have to be approved by the Division of Labor, Local Government Services?
Brent?
So a copy of the resolution of my appointment will be sent to DCA tomorrow. And that's within the statute of a temporary CFO who's not certified to meet the statutory requirements of the state.
And the expectation is that that's going to be approved and...
Yes,
and- Okay.
yes. There should not be a problem. And when the new CFO or the shared service agreement, as the council president mentions, you know, that appointment and the acceptance of that shared service agreement, if we get that far, part of that will be that I don't have to do it anymore.
Okay.
And, you know, based on our history in the last 3 months, I'm a little nervous about being the CFO too, but, you know, I can handle it.
Okay.
Any
That's all
more-
I had. Thank you.
Any more questions, comments? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Council President Revelinsky.
Aye.
Councilman Collins.
Aye.
Councilman Menko.
Aye.
Councilman Poznanski.
Aye.
Councilman Potter.
Aye, and thank
Count-
you, Fred.
Councilman Zambrana.
Aye.
Okay, will the clerk please read resolution number 2024-089 or 89 by title?
2024-89, authorizing to hire qualified purchasing agent.
What is the pleasure of council?
I move that this resolution be adopted.
Council President Revelinsky made the motion, seconded by Councilman Collins. Is there any comments?
Yes, I have one question. So, Is this the same QPA that was presented sometime in January for appointment?
Yes.
Okay. So if I remember correctly, looking at this candidate's resume, the job title on the resume is a little bit differently than the job title that she was just promoted to.
How so?
They're not the same. That's my question. Again, I'm going by the resume at that point, and then when I looked her up in the town where she works, I believe it was a January 23rd agenda meeting, she had just been promoted to a new position within that municipality.
Does that give you reason for pause?
That, and what gives me more reason to pause is that if you look at her resume, she does a lot for that town. And I don't understand how she's going to be a part-time QPA in this borough. That's my problem. Is she going to be doing remote work?
Yes, most QPAs do.
Okay, so we're okay with allowing folks to work from home who are professionals and who are appointed in that respect, but not in employees of the borough.
Well, I think we have the employee handbook, which dictates the rules by which we operate for remote work policy at this time, and it's our pleasure to adopt a new policy should we see fit.
Okay. And the resolution is, so she has her certification, this candidate? I don't see that the resolution actually lists a bid threshold. So is it 17.5, is it 34.5?
Why do you think it's $34,500?
Just asking a question.
It says $7,500.
No, that's her compensation, I mean, like the bid threshold, so she's.
So would our bid threshold not be the same as it was with any other QPA?
Just saying it's not on the resolution, that's all. That's all I'm saying.
I was provided the resolution by the labor attorney.
No, I'm just curious. No, QPA provides you up to a particular threshold. Right?
So so the bid threshold is set by the statute. If a QPA is in the borough, that bid threshold is set by state statute, not by the QPA itself.
No, I understand, it's just.
I think it's 44 and change.
We're appointing a QPA, but, you know, I've seen resolutions in the past where it actually lists in the resolution the bid threshold, that's all.
Okay, any more questions, comments, concerns? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Council President Revelinsky.
Aye.
Councilman Collins.
Aye.
Councilman Menko.
Aye.
Councilman Poznanski.
Aye.
Councilman Potter.
No.
Councilman Zambrana.
No.
Reports from the officials. So, Council President Revelinsky.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Looking for one item here. I apologize. As far as finance goes, we do have current openings within that department. And as soon as we have our new CFO appointed and working for us, we'll begin the budget preparations. All of our departments are fully aware of the expedited nature by which we want to get this done. We did have a meeting for the Ford Avenue Redevelopment Agency the other night, and that is the specific piece of paper that I'm looking for, and I do apologize to the residents, but in essence, a court hearing was held earlier this week, last week rather, that detailed some of the parameters by which a trial will be held, and I believe that trial is to begin on or about June 20th. Again, I apologize.
Actually, Councilman Revelinsky, Council President Revelinsky, I believe it's happening in early June. I think it's June 6th.
Sorry about that.
I mean, June 6th or 3rd, so
Thank
don't
you.
worry about that range.
Thank you.
You got it.
And I have nothing else to report.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Collins.
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Menko.
I do have a few things. Briefly, the library doing some great things. They have a library photo puzzle challenge. Please inquire at the library. Sign up is the March 1st. They are also still in the waiting stages of their food drive. It is themed for We Love Babies, food and clothing, collected until February 29th, which is rapidly approaching. Join us on Wednesday, February 28th at 10:30 a.m. for a drop-in and play featuring puzzles, Duplos, and more, ages 2 and under. Adult yoga is also offered at the library, and that will be on Tuesday, March 5th and the 19th at 9:15 a.m. Registration is required for those events. And starting in March 2nd actually, there will be some after-school programs, bingo for tweens and teens on Wednesdays, and Throwback Thursdays will have a movie day. And then reading to the Pooch on March 9th at 12:30. And then additionally, the rec department, which has also been very busy and doing a lot of great things. They still have about 10 tickets left for the hockey game. Community Pass is very good to use to pay for that. And then tickets are $55 each. I commented about it at one point, and it didn't say it on the flyer, and I was corrected by 11 or 100 or so town folk, so 55 each. Your own transportation is needed. And additionally, they still have slots left in the theater program. Beyond that, that's all I have for today.
Thank you. Councilman Poznanski.
Sure. I'm going to read about the Milltown Senior Center update. Following activities take place each week in the Milltown Senior Center. The activities run through the Office of Aging for those 60 and older. Some of the activities include aerobics, line dancing, chair yoga, billiards, walk aerobics, men's club, chorus, Spanish, arts and crafts, bingo, monthly visit from the VNA nurse, and swimming with the oldies. The classes are $1, and for out-of-town seniors, it's $2. The Senior Center also offers the opportunity to join the Senior Citizens Club. It's $10 per year, and please contact Bob Skarzinski. The upcoming trips in March. March 5th, bus trip to Ross Department Store and Trader Joe's in Lawrenceville. Wednesday, March 6th, bus trip to Monmouth Kitchen Diner. 12th, Freehold Mall. And Monday, the 18th, bus trip to Delicious Orchards. March 25th, a bus trip to Boscov's, and on the 26th, a bus trip to the Portuguese Fisherman. March 13th, it's a lunch and learn with Parker House, and let's see, Tuesday, March 19th, it's bingo with prizes presented by the United Healthcare. Wednesday, the 27th, Marty O'Neill, the Code Enforcement Service Officer, will be there to answer questions. The VNA nurse will be there on Tuesday, March 19th, from 12 to 3. And I'm also going to discuss, we have grants. I spoke to Dorian yesterday. She was supposed to send me an email on updates. I don't have that as of yet. And I'm still working with Ralph on grants for outside of the senior center. And also for the DPW. If anyone's noticed, the Schwindeman property is looking beautiful, as is the DPW yard over here. Been a lot of updates. It's really cleaned up. Ralph Jesnowski has sent his guys over there. They've done a huge cleanup. It's a big difference, and I hope people are happy when they look over there, because it looks great. And they did a great job with the snow also. Other towns may not have the guys that we have. They're very dedicated. They were out from 3 in the morning till about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which was Saturday. And so while you guys were sleeping, that's what they were doing. And Historic Preservation Committee, Phil would probably be better discussing what went on. I know the one thing that I have an interest in is the railroad station. And I'm meeting with Mr. Curran tomorrow to try to get an extension. But Phil, could you talk about some of the other things? Because I don't quite understand what everything that went on that night.
So there's been reaching out to the county for the last year and a half with help in moving that railroad station from Mr. Curran's property across the street to where Four Boys is. Still waiting for some more feedback from the county. They have asked for, in true county fashion dollars to go with, you know, what that may be to move that station across the street. I know there was a potential meeting for today, but schedules couldn't match, and so they're going to see if they get together next week. I think you had mentioned previously about the East Old Town in Piscataway in May at some point. It might be the 18th, if I remember. That was really the coverage of that meeting.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilman Potter?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For the public safety report from the police department. The police department is currently accepting applications for crossing guards, public safety telecommunicators. If interested, applications for both positions can be found on the borough website. For more information, please contact Lieutenant Carmen DiLorenzo at cdilorenzo@milltownpd.org. The police department also are very happy to help our community with any problem. As a reminder, for emergencies and life-threatening situations, please dial 911. All non-emergent situations, please dial 732-828-1100 or enter a report of concern on the official borough website. For the Milltown Fire Department, on February 20th, the newest fire department recruit, William McNeff, started with the fire school at the Middlesex County Fire Academy. Also, save the date for the annual flower sale located at the fire department on March 28th, 29th, and 30th from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. or while supplies last. Members are always needed. Any candidates interested in joining the Milltown Fire Department are encouraged to stop by the firehouse on Monday nights at 6:30 or email joinmilltownfire@gmail.com. Regarding the Milltown Rescue Squad, the Milltown Rescue Squad is still accepting applications for their spring onboarding process. Anyone who is interested in learning more about joining the Rescue Squad or becoming an EMT should email recruit@milltownrescuesquad.org. Applications for the April 2024 submission date are to be submitted by March 10th. And please feel free to contact the Milltown Rescue Squad if you have any questions. Mr. Mayor, regarding the Public Safety Committee, no new updates. And finally, Milltown 4th of July. Backed by popular demand, on April 20th, the Milltown 4th of July organization will be hosting their annual celebrity bartender event at the Milltown American Legion, Poach 25. More details to follow. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Councilman Zambrana.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the Revitalization Committee met on Tuesday, February 13th, to start off the process of planning for Milltown Day. I will have to say that the date right now, as of today, as it stands for Milltown Day, will be September 28th, which is the last Saturday in September. I have to announce the date because I had to mention that to Russ Einbinder to see what his schedule was like, and that's probably all over town by now. So the committee is, one of my tasks, or a couple of my tasks, was to reach out to Fred Carr. Fred's new. I need to bring Fred up to speed on some advanced purchases for the planters along Main Street. Fred has been very helpful in making sure that those purchases can be made. My other ask was to follow up with Monica. Monica, I will ask you now. Milltown Day Community Pass registrations, obviously it's not till September, but we got a lot of help last year when Ron was here. I know Kelly's new. I did mention it to her, but we will look to kind of back up on to a community pass, especially when it comes to checks and cash and stuff like that, for registrations and sponsorships. The next revitalization meeting will be on March 12th, which is always the second Tuesday of every month. It is via Zoom. It is at 7:30 p.m. Our Board of Health meeting is scheduled for tomorrow. It will be in person at 7 o'clock in the round room in the back.
Actually, it'll be, I'm sorry, in council chambers tomorrow night.
Council chambers, I stand corrected. The Environmental Committee will be meeting on the 28th. That will be via Zoom, and that will start at 7 p.m. And then I have just a short report for HRC. I'm short 3 resident members, and I'm pretty sure I have folks that I'll be able to hand over to Monica so that they'll be appointed at the next council meeting by then. It is to continue the work that was started last year with the HRC committee about potentially renaming Patain Avenue to a new name. Had a very short conversation with our borough attorney, Mr. Vignolo, which, if you don't mind, just what are the steps that we're going to do?
Sure. So obviously, the logistics of it are the ramifications are the things that I think the HRC was going to look into. But I did take a look at, just, from a practical perspective, the numbering and seeing whether or not Hague could just be extended. And the way the numbers seem to run are from the lower numbers up by South Main, going, towards its intersection with Patain. So you could conceivably just keep running the numbers down the right-hand side of that street and just make those two houses on Patain the next two numbers. I believe it's the odd numbers. They'd be like 25 and 27 on the right-hand side, and in lieu of creating a new name for a two-house street.
Thank you.
You got it.
And that concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I do not have a report this evening. Reports from borough professionals.
At a prior meeting, there was a discussion over trying to figure out whether there was some desire to pursue the farm stand / food truck concept. In thinking about it, it really seems to be almost akin to, a regularly occurring Milltown Day on a small scale, just for, a number of vendors, with food trucks and maybe a couple farm stand operators. That being said, I don't know whether the council would think it would be appropriate to have the revitalization committee kind of take a look at that and see if it's something that they could handle assisting with, because really it's the same idea, just in a different place. So, just a thought.
Actually, so I don't want to interrupt the reports from borough professionals, but I actually wrote on here tonight, food trucks, vendors on public property. So I know sorry, I'm not talking close enough here. I know the revitalization committee focuses primarily on Milltown Day as well as some other nuances throughout town, but sure. I would think this becomes more a function of the borough, with someone registering to rent a particular location and be authorized to set up, whether it's a food truck or a farm stand, on a recurring basis and not just a one-off opportunity.
Well, you've got to decide whether or not you want to allow someone to essentially subscribe for the season, or if you're going to tell people that it's first come, first served on particular days. And it may be that, I know that people who operate those food trucks will take them to festivals and move them about, so you might not have the same people every week, because you may have people who can get a greater payday being at, a state fair somewhere. So, those are the types of things you've got to figure out. But again, those aren't really, I can do them, but they're not really legal in nature. They're just, something that anybody can do. The idea of having that type of an activity on borough-owned property, well, I was just merely pointing out that you already do it. And it's, you do it as Milltown Day. This is kind of the same thing. It's just in a different location on a smaller scale. You don't have, the public interest groups coming in to hand out flyers. The DPW isn't going to be handing out buckets. But, you're going to still have the food trucks that are at Milltown Day are the same food trucks most likely. So I think, it's just a question of who you want to handle the interaction on it. So just a thought. So just trying to see how to move it along. But I mean, I don't know that you authorize Milltown Day to allow, the revitalization committee to operate it. I think it's just a function of one of the committees that you have, and they do that. So the question was whether or not you wanted to try to task them with also assisting with that. Since they
I was going to say, we also have the 4th of July. I was just curious as to how the revitalization committee got looped in, but I mean, if that's the your thought process there, I would say that Councilman Potter, if you could possibly assist as well with the 4th of July. There's so many vendors that they interact with, to understand what someone pays on a routine basis in order to operate at a particular location. So that might be helpful.
So just to let you know, 4th of July is separate from the borough. So
I understand that.
And, so something you also have to, think about too is insurance issues. If we, who's monitoring those trucks? If you have a truck in there and they poison the residents, who's liable for that? So, do we also
try to
have
not
to
get
ban
poison trucks?
What's that?
We're gonna try not to get the poison trucks.
Yeah,
You get the pricing from the non-poison.
Yeah.
So, my question is too, is who's got the bandwidth to manage all this too? We're currently,
I mean,
And well, that's why I'm trying to figure out who can, I mean, again,
it's a lot of work. It's a lot, I can tell you this, it's a lot of work.
Right.
It's a lot of work to manage.
and that's why I asked
Yeah.
whether or not that committee might be capable of taking it. If they don't have the ability to, I'm sure they'll let us know. But after that, then you've got to figure out who you're going to task with handling that.
well, I think first off, we need to identify that where the locations would be, if any, as a council, which we would feel acceptable. Number two, if we want to do this. And then number three, it's a matter of advertising and saying, how do we implement it? So I don't think that we need to make a decision tonight on that, but I think it's something that we can start the discussions and evaluate and consider.
So, totally hear where you're coming from, but we run into this all the time on revitalization. Food trucks are booked months in advance. So if that's something you want to do, probably sooner is better than later.
Well, I'm saying we need to discuss how we're going to implement a policy.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
When
I just
they
wanna-
book is not up to us particularly. I mean, they might book tomorrow, they might, 9 months from now, but.
Understood. I just didn't, from a practical perspective, I was indicating that you have the ability to really allow it to happen because it's something you're already doing. So to the extent you need to identify a location, you probably want police input, there's a couple different things. But we had discussed previously the fact that your borough hall shuts down during summer hours around noon. You could do it in the afternoon in the parking lot. If you used the portion of the lot that's closest to where the DPW yard is, you could close it off at either end. You could have parking in front of it, and it's walkable for residents. So it's, an idea of where to put it, but obviously, you guys can make the call on anything else, but that seems to be a place where you have open space during those hours. You don't want to use up any of your parks because during the summer, they're pretty active.
Right. And then on top of that, to get back to the poison trucks. Everyone
No,
would
I
be,
didn't say- I was just giving.
I was just saying, but like anyone selling food would have to be a licensed food vendor, have inspections and active
Right, they're
things
subject
anyway,
to
so we
Board of
just
Health
have to make sure that's
regulations and-
adhered to.
I see you looking at me.
Me? No, I'm not looking. I'm trying to figure out, again, ideas are great, and I think everybody thinks it's a great idea that we want to try to pursue, but the question is who's going to pursue it, and I don't know, I can try to come up with a really workable concept for you guys, but I don't think that's where you want to task me. So I'm just merely indicating that the ability for you to do it is there. You've got to decide where you want to do it, when you want to do it, and, how many of each, how. So that's why I thought perhaps trying to use one of your existing committees that already does something similar might be beneficial. But, certainly if you guys want to kick it around, that's good too. I just don't want to see, if we're 3 months from now and we're talking about it again, your ability to do it in the summer is going to be somewhat curtailed.
I have no problem spearheading it, as I had brought this up last year multiple times about possibly having food trucks in town. So if the council is open to pursuing this and moving forward with it, then I have no problem putting in the legwork.
Just one question, just when we're looking at these trucks, make sure it's not competition to our businesses, because we don't want to bring in a business that's going to have competition, that they're paying taxes and stuff, and you have a food truck coming in. So just something to keep in mind.
Well, that's going to be
Outside,
difficult then. So that's something else you may want to take into consideration whether you want to pursue it, because I don't know that.
We're not going to be able to limit who can and can't rent
Yeah, the
or
types
a
of
specific
food
location.
trucks, if somebody wants to come in with an ice cream truck, because we are, the mecca of ice cream parlors, they will have that ability to do so. I don't know that we're going to be able to say no ice cream trucks.
Have there been any discussion about, just generally speaking as a concept, yes, we have food trucks is great, but is it, maybe as a pilot program during the summer, do we want to try it like, every third Thursday? That way we're not unfair to our existing businesses, but we get the feet wet, we kind of get to build a little groundswell. It also gives us time to maybe get people booked. I'm just wondering, I like the idea, I'm all for it on some level, but, I do think that how we promote it, and if we want it to be successful, if we have too many food trucks in one spot, that's either a big happening, or it's 6 food trucks that don't make money and 2 that did okay and they don't show up the next time. So maybe we can I just think there's some analysis we got to do.
Well, I mean, I think we can work on this as a subcommittee, and start diving into some of those details, what we would want it to look like. I don't imagine this being too many, and I don't want to continue this forever. I see the clerk kind of saying,
Oh, no, I just, if I can, where I live, they have a couple of towns around me on Sundays during the nicer weather. They do a combination of a farmer's market / food truck thing. And I know we have a lot of local people who bake cookies and do stuff like that, so they could potentially rent a space like that. So it wouldn't just be all food trucks taking, but it would also be spotlighting some of our local vendors that do crafts and things. So it could be a combination of both, and those are typically very successful. I don't know that Friday's the best day to do it, because we get out at noon doesn't mean everybody else in the world does. I think, a weekend would be good to look at it, but I wouldn't limit yourself to food trucks. I think if you opened it up to vendors, food trucks, potentially farm stands that come with their crop shares, I think you get a lot better turnout.
I look at this, in all honesty, I don't look at this as just creating a spot for one food truck. I look at this as an opportunity for a new business to enter town with a small cost of entry to evaluate the market for themselves. And hopefully they're successful and say, I do so well here, I want to open up a brick and mortar.
It is a great testing spot.
That's the incentive here, that we're taking one step to encourage new businesses to check out Milltown, get to know our population, and hopefully open up a brick and mortar. And in the meantime, we're providing them a venue to do so.
I gotta agree with Councilman Potter with competing with the businesses. I mean, it's not fair that they pick up the cost for having physical how do I say facilities for people when a vendor's going to come in with a food truck and not have to absorb the cost.
And this is why I wanted to bring it up, because obviously you guys have a fair number of issues you're gonna need to work out before you get to the finish line. So, but again, they're not really, I mean, I know everybody, you kind of looked at me and said, can we try to do this? The answer is you can, but you're gonna need more information.
Yeah.
Do we also have to call a resolution for the food truck, the ordinance for food trucks as well? I thought there's an ordinance in place prohibiting food trucks.
I think it's a different type of food truck that you prohibit. You don't have food trucks that come in, itinerant, moving about, selling or parking in a specific location, other than when you endorse them. So if you're going to sponsor it on your property, clearly it's going to be permitted.
Okay, thank you.
Just a short report, then, Mr. Mayor. Pleased to report that preliminary work has begun on West Foch. That's all I have.
Any report?
So I just have, Mayor, I just have one comment. On behalf of the Office of the CFO and the BA and the clerk, we don't have the bandwidth to do food stamps.
I second that.
That ends my comment.
For now.
Question for Mr. McClellan.
Yes.
At the pre-construction meeting, we stressed heavily the notifications to the residents about when the work's beginning, the stages, and kind of that planning is.
They were handed out.
They were handed out? Okay. And that was like, that has something of a 2-week look ahead of this is the work, and then we're going to start the next phase, which would be whether it's tree removal or curb rip outs.
We'll check on that detail, but that's what they were supposed to say.
Thank you.
I will leave.
Old business. Does any member of the council have any old business to bring before council? No? Okay. New business. Does any member of the council have any new business before they'd like to bring before council? No? Open to the public. Public comment portion of our meeting is to allow the public to bring to the council's their attention, their concerns, their comments. The council will respect the public's time by refraining from any comments until the speaker is finished. It should be further noted that the public comment of the portion of the meeting is not structured as a question and answer session. Please state your name and address for the record when you come to the podium.
Mayor, council members, ladies and gentlemen, Richard Ryan, 60 South Main Street. So get your gavel ready. I'm going to break the first rule. I have a question that I have to ask, and whether you can answer it or not, I understand may be driven by many things, but I think it's important for it to be asked for the record. So I'm curious as to whether or not, since the last council meeting, there was any dialogue with members of council or borough employees with members of the church with regard to granting permission for ongoing events at the school behind my house.
And I would step in quickly, as Mr. Ryan might expect, because as indicated at the last meeting, there was a summons issued to St. Paul's Church for the activity that had happened the preceding weekend, and that is still pending. So as it is a pending piece of litigation, I would counsel the mayor and the council members not to provide any response to questions, unfortunately.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Not a problem, Mr. Ryan.
So to that point, I ask the question because we were here February 12th, and on Friday, February 16th, there was another event at the school. It was one that happened earlier in the day than is normally the case, but it did run pretty late. I personally called the police department to make them aware of the fact that there was an event going on. I don't know if anybody else called or not. This past Saturday, February 24th, there was another event, Saturday evening, which was a significant event. I don't count heads, but I can go based on cars. Full parking lot for the lot across the street from the school. The parking behind the school that I raised issue with last time was completely full. The noise levels were such that several phone calls were made to the police department. I again called myself so that the record would reflect that there was an event going on that I still am of the opinion are events that are not authorized. So I bring that up because it leads me to 2 points. One, if that conversation did not take place with members of the church, I want to point out what I happen to feel is the audacity of some of those people at the church who sent a person to knock on my neighbor's door at 10 o'clock on Friday morning to ask her to look the other way on another event. And shocked? No. A little bit surprised? Yes. They stood here, they made comments and promises and offered certain things like they have continually, and again did not come through on any of it, and asked a neighbor to look the other way. Fortunately, that neighbor told them that they were not the authority on the issue, that the council was, and that's where that question should be asked. I don't think it happened. So, to the point of a violation that was issued for an event preceding the last council meeting, I understand why you cannot be in a position where you're having open dialogue about that, but I'm now referencing at least 2 more events that I believe they should be violated for. And I don't believe that just because there is a violation pending, that we collectively as a borough and as a governing body should wait for the outcome of that, because frankly, I think maybe it would be important to the borough prosecutor and the judge to have a complete understanding of what's really going on here, right? So it's not just one violation, it's now this group of individuals from St. Paul's telling the entire town, including mayor and council, we're going to do whatever we want. So if anybody feels differently here this evening, I understand, but I sure would be appreciative if you took my comments here this evening seriously enough to have it weigh on any decisions you make with regard to what our issues are over on South Main Street. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening, Russell Einbinder, 152 Main Street. Oh, it's John, sorry, Milltown. I'm here for a couple of reasons. First of all, as head of the TV station, I did hear some echoing, as you were pointing out to me before, Mr. Mayor. I think just our amplifying here might be turned up a little bit too high when we were trying to overcompensate at the last meeting. So we'll have to check that after the meeting, okay, sir? That's number one. Number two, for the 4th of July, thank you, Councilman Potter. Dave, I think you mentioned a little bit about the date. The tickets will be on sale with the Give Butter site to pay online and stuff. Sometime this week I'll get around to getting all that restarted. I'd have to make a new campaign, they call it, when we do that. All right, so that should be available any day now. People want to get tickets in advance. Once again, just as a reminder, like the 4th of July being like our big event in town, we don't use tax dollars. There's a little contribution from the borough always, of course, but most of it is done through private and corporate and local company donations, like CME and like Vignola, all these same people. And they're just two of the people in this room that do it. There's plenty of other people that do it, but also events like this help raise money for everything that we do that day. And every year we try and raise the bar, so we want more people to enjoy Milltown 4th of July. The more we raise, the more we can do. Okay, and the other big event, at least to some of us, right, Mr. Mayor? Yes. This Saturday is the annual Boy Scout Troop 33 Spaghetti Dinner at the American Legion. And it starts at 4. We're going to go serving up to 7 o'clock. If you haven't got tickets yet, we have a bunch of Boy Scouts all around town running. Just be careful. Some of them are really good salesmen. They might sell you more stuff than just tickets. They're really good. Come join us. Help raise the wonderful program and scouting we have in Milltown. And the other thing is, just as an aside also, on the next morning, our local Masons here in town have their wonderful breakfast that not everybody here always knows about. And Mr. Potter, you know that is an amazing breakfast. And I talk about it every year on the 4th. I'm announcing everything. They do such a great job for so many groups. Okay? Fantastic job. And there's one more little heads up. I put all this stuff on TV, and it's a lot of Robert put up already, but not everybody sees that, number one. And number two is people are asking me dates all the time, so I'm trying to say it all at once. And the last one I want to mention is March 23rd, our Lions Club, of which a bunch of us are in this room. We're having our annual Easter egg hunt at 12 noon sharp in Albert Avenue Park. I don't think any of the renovations will be done by then, but we're going to be using the park like we do every year. Bring your favorite little basket and have a lot of fun with the Easter Bunny and maybe win a basket prize. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.
Thank you, Russ.
I see no further comments. Council comments. Is there anything from council?
We need to close the public portion.
I'd just like to bring up, I'm sorry.
I'd like to close public portion.
Yep, just close the public portion. Go ahead, Gary.
I'd just like to bring up, I keep getting asked about people wanting us to lower their taxes, and the one thing that I'll say to them is we all know the proportion is, school board is around 66% of the taxes, county's around 13%, we're roughly 21, 22%. But what I tell people what we have are, I think, the best services. And I was, just as a citizen also, I thank the police, fire rescue, ladies at Borough Hall, library staff and senior center, and of course Fred, because even though I would never promise to lower taxes, we do offer the best services, I think, with dedicated professionals, and I appreciate them. That's it.
So I'd just like to make a small comment, and I'd like to thank Kristen Pinho, a member of the Finance Office who will be leaving the Borough of Milltown this Friday, March 1st, for all her hard work and dedication over the past 2 years. I got to know her when she was hired 2 years ago, and I really appreciated her work ethic and for her changing that office from a paper-based office workflow to a efficient, digital-based office workflow. She made things a lot easier to find, she made things a lot easier to analyze, and for that I'm grateful. And I must say, it is a little bit disappointing to me that the reason that she's leaving the Borough of Milltown is because she felt that she did not have the support of her mayor and her council president. But with that, I wish her and her family.
I think you're way out of line there with that comment, and I suggest you just stop.
Thank you, Council President.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Hello?
Yeah, we're here, John.
Oh, thank you. I'd just like to thank our business manager, Fred, for stepping up and taking the CFO job, and thank Monica for getting me on for the borough agenda and the great work she did with the agenda build it tonight. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, just to add, speaking about new businesses, Councilman Zambrano, the Mayor Murray, and myself were all at the ribbon cutting at AFC Urgent Care this past Friday. They opened up today. It's where the coffee bar used to be, so I would encourage people, if they need to go visit. Also, too, I just want to confirm, Council President Revelinsky, there's no planning board in March, correct? I believe I saw something on the sign. Didn't know if...
That's correct. I believe that's been canceled.
Okay, so there's no planning board meeting for March, okay. And lastly, Mr. Mayor, I will not be at the next council meeting. I'll be traveling.
The next scheduled planning board meeting is 7 p.m. on Wednesday, April 3rd.
Thank you.
And that one should be happening.
Don't take my schedule. I've got a comment. Tonight, in our bill list, we paid $21,000 in the month of February for our dumping fees over at the county dump. And I bring that up because while I'm a serious person who brings all his garbage out to the curb, I'd like people to be mindful of the fact that we do have quite a robust recycling program. So if you find yourself throwing out that paper, instead of us paying to get rid of it, let the county pay. County pays for our recycling, folks. So recycle where you can and be mindful of how much you're throwing out. If you see someone bringing something in from outside of town to dump it, please ask them not to. And that's all I have to add. Thank you.
Councilman Manco.
I just had something real quick, was a couple of things. I did find out this week, just randomly, Milltown out-recycles a lot of the towns around us. Just thought it was a nice thing to hear, kind of a little nice thing to be proud of. We do some good stuff. Secondly was, I spend far too much time on social media, but I did hear just an interesting change in something that was great. Someone said, you know, this person was flying down the street and it bothered them. And instead of the usual, what used to be a considerable amount of people compiling on that complaint, there were people going, they can't get everyone, but they're doing a hell of a job. Our policemen have really stepped up, made a lot more presence known. I just think it's noticeable, and it's a change in tone, which, thanks guys. So just want to say that, and there was one more, got to remember what it is now. Rec department is also looking for people to do summer work, so if anybody has any of that, that would be Great place to get started, in a borough, maybe stay there forever, who knows? Maybe someday you could be mayor. Kids still dream, it's a good thing. The other thing is, we've had a lot of transition in our, in Borough Hall, and with that, a lot of people have stepped up and are doing the utility infielder thing that I'll reference from where I think a lot of people are doing a lot of great things, and the fact that things keep moving forward is just a testament to a lot of good things that are happening that you just can't see them, but people deserve a round of applause and, just say, hey, good job for everybody who's doing that. So, thank you for all those people.
Just one more thing. Somebody at Dunkin' Donuts did reiterate what Frank is talking about. He said, what's with the cops giving tickets out? I said, well, they'll slow down now, won't they?
Okay, I have my comments. I was contacted by a resident this weekend, and they had the interest of South Main Street Firehouse with the possibility of converting it into a pub, bar, or restaurant. So I'd like to task the Finance Committee with some scenario options, if you would. One, the sale of the property outright, what the potential is with that. Lease of the property, and this is where our attorney, Peter Vignola, will get involved. Lease of the property with the town owning the liquor license. The potential of, or lease property with the town not owning anything, but what the liabilities are with that if we lease the property to the individual. We'd also need to know if the establishment gets sued, are we going to then turn around and get sued for if we lease the property versus sell the property?
They'll always sue you.
So,
But I mean.
Whether you're liable or not.
Exactly.
and
That's just paper that gets filed. So
guess-
the question is whether you have immunity from suit, and that would be another thing, so.
Sure, and then I guess the other question would be about subdividing the property so the historic houses remain in its entirety over there versus the whole lot. I guess that would be.
You've actually got two parcels over there. One is the property that is the parking lot and the historic houses, and the piece that runs behind the businesses over and kind of comes back out, I think, opposite Violet Terrace. And then you've got the piece that the firehouse sits on. The piece that the firehouse sits on, I believe, is just about as wide as the building itself. So the parking lot is actually on the adjoining site.
Okay.
So you at some point may want to consider moving your lot lines around depending on what you want to do with those properties.
Okay. So if the committee could at least start to dig into that.
And I'm happy to talk with the committee about that. We can certainly, I'll add to whatever they need.
Can you touch on that liquor license thing, that we don't have liquor licenses for the town to own?
The question is whether or not, the question is whether or not they need a liquor license, because if it is a municipally owned property, they may be able to get a different type of permit. So we can look into that. There's different ways to kind of dice it up, but it's really, until we start looking into it, that's what we're gonna have to do.
Thank you. All right, agenda session. Next on the agenda session, we have items for discussion for March 11th, 2024 meeting. We have ordinance introduction for 2024-1533. It's titled Municipal Services. And then we have ordinance public hearing, second reading, 24-1531, ordinance amending Chapter 23, Streets and Sidewalks. Ordinance 24-1532, ordinance amending Chapter 7, Traffic Section Parking Prohibited During Certain Hours.
That will not be on second reading, that was tabled, so it'll be,
First reading.
it'll be on first reading.
Okay, thank you. And that's it for there. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second. Third.
Motion by Councilman Collins, seconded by Councilman Potter. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Nag? Thank you. One.